Making everything sexual, harassment, or in good fun? I'm Dr. Trish Leigh. Let me answer that question for you. In this video, we are going to talk about three things. Number one, why you make everything sexual. It might not be what you think it is. Number two, what's happening in your brain that makes you want to make everything sexual, and then what it's doing to your brain when you do. And number three, what you can do instead so that you can start establishing healthy sexuality and get away from hypersexuality. Okay, let's dig in. So, why are you making everything sexual? If you're a person who sexualizes your partner or wife in the kitchen while she's tending to dinner and children, if you go to the gym and you can't stop oogling other women who are working out, if at the grocery store you are checking people out, then you go for dinner and you can't take your eyes off the waitress, there is a reason. Now we're going to go even further. Maybe you're the type of person that makes the sexual jokes all the time. That will take it even one step further. Let me tell you why you're doing that. Your brain is looking for dopamine hits. So we know from the brain science that when you are involved in the consumption of pornography, your brain gets this massive flood or bath of dopamine in the moment. And actually, it will stick around for a while. Remember, I can see into people's brains. So I can see exactly what's happening on their brain training graphs before they have a pornography consumption session, before they get a session going. I can see what's happening directly after. So I can see the differences in the anxiety brain pattern, the pattern that has too much fast speed, too much slow speed, and then after a porn session, that brain is numbed out. It is bathed in dopamine. But when you go back into the world where there's not as much dopamine, and actually what happens is there's the B effect to your porn session, meaning that dopamine goes low, cortisol goes high, and you go into the world where you can't find dopamine, your brain is screaming for a dopamine hit. And the way that it gets it is through sexualization of other people, of comments, of storylines, of jokes. So the way that your brain gets those hits is in the kitchen, you're making breakfast for 5 children, you're making lunches for 5 children, and your brain's going, wow, this is very low dopamine producing activity. Maybe what I can do is make a sexual comment to my wife, and that gives you a little hit of dopamine. I'm not saying my husband does that, but I'm saying that he could, because it's not a dopamine producing activity unless you make it one like I do by cranking up the tunes, by enjoying my time. I get the dopamine flowing during the breakfast lunch routine, which is thankfully going to be over soon for summer. So anyways, it can be very low dopamine producing, especially if you have a pornography habit. So now you go into the world and you have to go to a work dinner. And at your work dinner are colleagues that annoy you, your boss who you're not particularly fond of, and all you're talking about is work things. Now your brain's going, man, I need a hit of dopamine. So you make an off-color sexual comment to your work colleague. It's not appropriate. It can definitely be considered harassment, just so you know, and I'll dig into that in just a second. But what's happening is your brain needs a hit of dopamine to offset the stress of that situation. So it gets it by making sexual comments. It gets it by checking out the server. It gets it by looking at other people and objectifying their body parts. Your brain is looking for the dopamine hit to offset the low dopamine in that environment and the cortisol. So that is what is behind it. That's why your brain is sexualizing environments that don't necessarily need to be sexualized. That's what's happening that drives you there. So once you get that dopamine hit, you're feeling a little bit more comfortable in the world. So we know from the brain science that if you have a porn habit, it becomes much more difficult for you to engage in the world where it's low dopamine. Okay, so what do you do about it? What you do about it is when you are going into the world, especially if you're going into a work dinner, or especially if you're going to the gym, if you're going to do anything like that, you need a plan. If you've watched my other videos, you know You need a plan. So if you are going out to a work dinner or to anything that's slightly stressful, and I do this myself just so I'm prepared, I think of 3 topics that I would want to talk about in that environment that is appropriate. And so I'll talk about my latest hobbies, like cryptocurrency. I know I don't look like a cryptonaut, but I am. Like, a lot of times I talk about brains. Shock me, right? But I will come up with 3 topics that is appropriate for the context that I could bring up. Strategy number 2 is ask other people about themselves. And that might be difficult if you have a porn habit because we know empathy is low, and usually science shows, and taking other people's perspectives and caring about what other people have to offer up can be challenging. And that goes back to there's low dopamine in that. There's more dopamine in talking about yourself. But ask the people in that environment something about themselves, and then actually listen and comment back. And I know I talked about it in another video where one time I was really cranky and I did not want to go out, and the hubs made me go out to this party, and I told him that, I'm going to have to gamify this to be able to get through it. The way that I gamified it was I just asked other people about themselves. I didn't offer up anything about myself. And when I was leaving, no joke, every person came up to me and told me that it was so nice to meet me and that it's the nicest conversation they've ever had because I let them talk about themselves. Very dopamine producing. So it was able to offset me saying anything that I didn't want to say. I saw a friend of mine out the other night, and she was funny because I know I've said this in the past, and she's like, I'm volatile. I should not even be out right now. I'm in a volatile place right now. Shouldn't even be here. So, you can consider yourself relatively volatile in those environments until you leave porn behind. Now, the way out of that is to leave porn behind, because porn is the number one way that compulsive hypersexuality behavior disorder manifests itself. So what it means is your brain needs sexual acts, it needs sexual visual stimulation, it needs as much sex as it can get to self-soothe. So when you stop going back to the screen, that goes down. And when that goes down, you stop looking for sex out in the world. The conversations can chill out. The looking at other people chills out. It starts to go down because you're not feeding it with the behavior of the screen. So, of course, that's the number one way to be able to leave it behind. Okay, so I hope this helps you out. Remember, I am here to support you on this journey. I have programs of different sizes. I have an awesome new website, pornbrainreboot.org. In the nonprofit that I am in the midst of establishing, please go there. It is described in great detail the neuroscience and the therapeutic modalities behind the program that make it so successful. And as always, remember, control your brain or it'll control you.